Well, we're living in a different time. It's a new thing for us. The stay at home order. And we all know what brought it on. And still, we get out a bit. Grocery store, drugstore, exercise, occasional emergency, some people to work. But we're spending more time at home these days than at any time in any of our memories. For instance, we're not coming here to church. I'm here today recording, but there's just three of us and me here. We know about personal devotional time, but the entire congregation worshiping from home, that's a new thing for us. But it's not totally new in the history of the church. Much of the gathering of early Christians took place in their homes. In fact, it was not until sometime in the 3rd century that Christians began to build buildings that they called churches. And we know from Methodist history that early Methodist gatherings were small groups of people who gathered in their homes. So in a way, we're recovering something of our past. Another thing about staying at home is mealtime. Some of us get takeout meals, but we know that we take the takeouts home most of the time. And we're eating at home much more than usual these days. That's one of the ways we're spending more time with our families, is around the table. Now, I know some people live alone, and they don't have those contacts around the table that others do, but they have other contacts. I've had people tell me that they're spending more time on the telephone, reaching out, FaceTiming with family and friends. And if you are alone, that's a good thing to do, to keep those contacts. But for those of us who live in families, we're spending more time around the table than we're accustomed to. Someone has called food the fuel of relationships. The word companion is an interesting word. Companion. It comes from two Latin words, com, which means with, and panis, which means bread. So, companion with bread. A companion is someone then with whom we break bread. It's an interesting word. In English, of course, it's companion. In Spanish, it's compañero. In Italian, it's compagno. In French, it's copain. All of them similar, but all of them meaning someone with whom one eats bread. So in one sense, we're spending more time sharing meals with our companion or companions at home. Think about Jesus. Jesus used such everyday realities to talk about himself. Things like light and water and bread. In the 6th chapter of John, Jesus says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry. He reminds us that we need physical sustenance and we need spiritual sustenance. The commonplace, bread, becomes the means of the revelation of God. There's an interesting story in Luke's gospel. It occurs on the evening of resurrection, the first Easter day. 2 disciples of Jesus were walking along a road to a nearby town near Jerusalem called Emmaus. They met a stranger. They didn't know who the stranger was. They began to have conversation with the stranger. And they explained to this stranger they met the things that had taken place in the week that was just ended. Then when they sat at a table to eat with the stranger, and he broke the bread, they realized in the breaking of the bread that their companion was Jesus. Think about that. The next time you receive the sacrament of Holy Communion, the bread and the wine are revelations of God's loving grace. Think about it the next time you sit at home breaking bread with close companions of your life that you know as family. The bread you share together symbolizes both the love of your family circle and the love of God who sustains your body and your soul. It just may give a new and deeper meaning to your being at home together. And then think about your homes in two ways as well. There are the physical structures in which you dwell, live, and there's home in a deeper sense. Jesus worshiped in the synagogue. And in the synagogue, his hymn book would have been the book of Psalms. I'm virtually certain that Jesus had read and recited and sung, I wish I knew the tunes they used, read and recited and sung many times the 90th Psalm. It begins this way: Lord, you have been our dwelling place, our home. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. So, be at home and give thanks for the companions of your life.